All right. Well, it's been a fun last 6 months or so, Lord Dadbottom, but now I believe it's time to send ye on your rest. Time to come home for good. So, send Lord Dadbottom to his not so final rest in the tomb colonies. As per his wishes, he was sealed into a waterproof box and left to float in the general direction of Venderblight, just someplace. Only the gods of the Z will know whether he makes it or whether he spends several lifetimes searching. So, good job there, buddy. Nice to finally get rid of the character that I've played for most of the beta here. Also, hi, my name's Mazo. This is Sunless Sea. It's a game about a weird alternate history, late 1800s setting known as Fallen London, which is exactly as it sounds. At some point, London just sort of falls into a big cave and becomes this weird undercity full of mystery and wonder. There's an entire game made about this. Actually, that's what Failbetter Games, the developers, have been doing for all the time up until they decided to actually make like a proper program. It's a web-based game. It's free. I'll put links somewhere. Anyway, this is my first time seeing this whole page here because it's been a long time since any of my guys have died. Actually, I started this character way earlier on in the beta when they were still using a turn-based system. And now, well, now it's a lot different. Here, let's get a little bit of music all up in. Probably doesn't even matter. All right. So let's see. I'll take this. Don't do it again. Yep. We shall compel attention. Sounds pretty awesome. And then I kind of want this, so I get all sorts of extra hearts. If you've played Fallen London, the stat system's pretty similar, except for instead of, ferocity, shiftiness, I can't even remember all this stuff. It's just veils, hearts, irons. They sort of do about the same thing. You already start with that, so no. That's cool. Man, I really did collect just about everybody, didn't I? All under the tireless mechanic, though. It gives you extra fuel efficiency, and that can be useful. That can be really useful. All right, so, it's gonna be a lot different than starting before. Originally, you picked a bunch of stuff in that major character, and you'd start with like 50 of a stat and a bunch of others. I think I still start with 50 of a stat, but I also start with a bonus and all these other stats. So, okay, now I'm playing as the son of Lord Dadbottom. Yeah, here we go. Decide who you want to be. Bam. So yeah, as you can see, Veils is the skill of subtlety and evasion. That allows you to evade subtly. Pages is good for learning unknowable things, which there are kind of a lot of in the Z. Aaron's the skill of wrecking things. Hearts is the skill of not dying. And Mirrors is, well, it's a thing. I think I'll go with Mirrors this time. Your peculiar theories on time, blood, and starlight brought you down to the Neath, the cavern where London lies. And now they take you out to Z. Right? So I also start with the plausible surgeon, who's like the worst ship's doctor. He's your low level one. But yeah, that's who I was. Now I'm a Z captain. What does winning mean to you? This is just sort of choosing what you want your end game to be. Normally you get to choose fulfillment or wealth. Sometimes there are special things that open up like this. Your father's bones. Your father was lost at Z. You never knew him, but you often dreamed of him. Find and return his remains to London for a decent burial. So now I've got like an actual objective. Bam. So, explore fallen London to find your first clue. Where everything starts. Another really cool thing about this game is that it seriously is like really incredibly gender neutral. See, like right here, they just ask which term of address you want. You can have people call you Madame, Sir, Citizen, My Lord, My Lady, and Captain, and that really has no effect outside of some booleans, like just what they call you. I usually just go with Captain. It sounds pretty awesome, but this time, let's do Citizen. Perhaps you're some sort of rabble-rousing enthusiast, eh? It's about right. A last piece of advice: explore, take chances. This captain will probably die. That's true. And then here you get to pick your, I believe these are called curios. That's what they call them in Fallen London anyway. It's just a vague representation of your character. There's a lot that are, female-ish. There's some male-ish. There's tentacles. Last time, Lord Dadbottom pretty much looked like a big daddy with bright flaming eyes because of some storyline shit. Let's go with Cool Hat. Now we need a name for the son of Lord Dadbottom. Higgins Sunbottom. Because son of Lord Dadbottom. It makes sense to me. Perfect sense. Okay. Your father lost at Z so very long ago. The trail was cold, but now you have a lead. The Gracious Widow. It is said she controls half the crime in London. It is said that she's 500 years old. Said that she can distill spirits that delight the tongue and melt the flesh. It's said that she's paid for a memorial headstone to be set up for your father. What does she know? All right, I'm a natural philosopher, so I get this thing. Let's see. The widow receives you in utter darkness, blank as a bandage laid across your eyes. It's unusual for the widow. Or, usual, sorry. Yes, she says, and her voice is oddly youthful. I have an interest in your father. I had hoped news of the headstone would bring someone looking, and here you are. I have an idea where his bones might be. Perhaps you will help me recover them, but I would like you to cover my expenses. First, I need something for my tonics. Skintillac. You can find it in Port Cecil, I understand. You may go. Alright, so I need to bring one Skintillac from anywhere. You can find the stuff all over the place. What do we got here? Oh, this is interesting. It's a book of useful advice for just everything. The unforgiving mode, which is how the game is meant to be played. When you die, you die. The save system's still a little bit wonky, but it works. The thing about new stories, this game keeps going as long as the creators keep writing new stories. And honestly, I love them for it. That's the best part of their games. Is they just keep going. They're very, very good writers. However, I'm pretty sure I don't need this book, so off to see it goes. All right. So normally the first step is you should probably just grab a tomb colonist, take him to Venderbright, get some more crew because it's good to have extra crew. Of course, I have this elegant townhouse. Normally you start off with not so elegant place, and I will read the morning papers. The Echo Bazaar, that enigmatic marketplace, has increased its tax on love stories. The traitor empress has forbidden singing in the street outside her palace. The anarchists of the Calendar Council have inexplicably dynamited a drinking fountain. The Ministry of Public Decency has located and destroyed a nest of gallbladder wasps. I hope that gives you an idea of what you're in store for in this game. It's a very sort of absurd world. From what I understand, just the fact that we're all in this big cave underneath the earth causes time to sort of be a little wonky. All right. You can do a lot of things here. You can write the Song of the Z. You can make heirlooms, which then get passed on to your next of kin. I've got 4 here from my last game. That game that lasted forever. I wasn't trying hard enough, otherwise I would have probably had the maximum of 12. But why would I want to try? Trying silly. See. Step 2, the Admiralty Survey Office is always a good place to go. All they want you to do is go to a place, figure out what's up, come back, give your report. They give you some money and some fuel. They're very nice about it. They want me to retrieve some strategic information from the Iron and Misery Company funging station, somewhere not far from home waters, so it's going to be close to here. What else do I need? Let's see, go to my hold. I've got this equipped. I've got the crappy old engine. Everything in this game sort of exists as like a card, perhaps with a value. You got storylets and qualities. Like, these are cargo qualities, so it's 10 fuel, 5 supplies. All of this stuff's just taking up space. This weapon needs to get sold because I don't want it. Let's see. This way up. Not the best weapon that you start off with. It could barely put a scratch on like the easiest enemy. Right. What else should we grab? Some provisions, of course. We've already got enough. Never mind. All right, off to C. Off to Z, sorry. Keep saying the wrong thing because I'm the wrong person. Oh god, this is slow. Okay, so here's the map as it stands. You would think that with so many Zailers going out to Z all the time, you would have a pretty decent map to start off with, but no. No, the Unter Z sort of changes a lot. It's got this weird roguelike element to it. So every time you start a new character, you've got to do a new map. Some of the stuff does stay pretty much where you would think it is. Bad Stevener's Abyss is, of course, right outside of Fallen London. If you go up here, I believe there should be a few other places that are interesting. Hunter's Keep, okay. Not quite on the map yet, but Hunter's Keep is a very good place to stop by when you start, because you're always getting useful stuff. Of course, for every place you explore, you get some extra fragments, and those go towards getting secrets. That's sort of your level up mechanic. You get a secret, you talk to one of these guys, they give you bonuses. It's fantastic. Very small bonuses because you want to get this up near 100 for bonus stuff. Also, every so often you get this symbol. Oh, whoops, battle mode. This means that the next time you actually stop at any port, you might get an interesting new wrinkle in your story. Let's see what we get this time. Hunter's Keep. A hump of dark rock swathed in mist, like 100 other Untersee islands. But there's a grand house, windows aglow, lawns impossibly green and lush in the full starlight, raked gravel paths. You stand on the dock as the sea nudges the ship's sides, as an unexpectedly warm breeze carries the faintest trace of lavender. Of course, you get all sorts of decisions as to what you can do. Spy on the house. I got a 98% chance. Why not? Right? Piano music drifts across the terrace. You peer across through a half-open French window into a grand parlor, grand in size, if a little reduced in style by dust and neglect. A dark-haired, pale-skinned young woman bends earnestly over a piano keyboard. Another, fair-haired but unmistakably her sister, sprawls on the sofa with a book. Third sits by the fireplace, staring sorrowfully into the embers. Soon, she says, and the piano music falters and stops. We'll go hungry, and then the end will come. For me, but not for you. The pianist raises her eyes from the keyboard. Hush! If you don't speak of it, she frowns. Has she seen you at the window? You withdraw. So I've gotten some extra fragments because I was not noticed. I'm going to go ahead and now go and introduce myself. A little bit backwards, but that's okay. Knock and enter. A maid with smoldering topaz eyes shows you into the parlor where 3 young women wait. A visitor, the youngest cries. The next youngest chuckles. The eldest sighs. So we got all of the never mind. Do excuse the indecorum, she says. Visitors are rare. You are very welcome. I am Cynthia. The noisy one is Phoebe, and the cheerful one is Lucy. You are in good time for lunch. Will you join us? So now I have the storylet quality. I'm acquainted with the Sisters of Hunter's Keep. And now anytime I actually have this little symbol here, I can come over here and have lunchtime with the sisters. Also, I can do that again if I have recent news. Here, I'll show that off real quick. Okay, let's talk to the oldest sister, Cynthia. All right. Cynthia grasps your arm and whispers to you. Her eyes are wide and blue. Her hair is wild and tangled. Bats might nest in it. It seems to you that you're sitting on a hillside above a wide blue lake, listening to a story of a murder, an axe, a net, blood on scented water. Another chop, Cynthia asks? You've barely touched your food. Here, I'll have the maid wrap something up for you. You can't be hungry. It's not safe to be hungry. It's true. It's never safe to be hungry. And apparently I've also gained Salt's attention. Salt's one of the gods of the Z that probably don't exist. I've gained a bunch of extra stuff too. I've got a Tale of Terror, which is an actual physical item in my inventory. It doesn't take up any cargo space, it's just something that I have. Recall it, then light a candle. Light another. Alright. If there were a shop or a shipyard here, I could go to that. I can check out everything else. Here's my journal with all my extra qualities. My past. All this other stuff. The Father's Bones quest. And then here's all of my physical stuff. Like that Tale of Terror I was talking about. And the fragments of lore that I'm collecting to gain secrets. Which I don't think I have any yet. And of course that Tomb Colonist. These guys are essentially really old kind of mummy folk. I don't think people really die out here in Fallen London. But if they get old enough, they, they go off to the tomb colonies. They spend a couple hundred years sleeping. They wake up on occasion. They're all crazy. And that's where we're going next. Now, you need to be careful out here on the Z. I mean, the lamp that you have is pretty powerful and will let you know that there are things in front of you. But when those lamps on the side glow blue, that means you're starting to gain terror. If it's yellow over here, little yellow dots, that means once these fill up, you'll get a terror. If it's red, it fills up twice as fast, and if it's green, it's actually slowing the hell down. Hey look, pirate. Might as well battle. If you're trying to get a target lock on an enemy, it's usually best to have your lights facing them, because your weapons will fill up twice as fast. Like, you'll gain a targeting solution quicker. In the original version, this was the illumination stat, and you'd want to get your enemy's illumination up high enough so that you could fire upon them. Now, you just do it physically. Alright, so let's loot and scuttle this thing. We've received a cache of curiosities. What's inside? Crates, the source of sustenance. The fundamental element of cargo. And it looks like we found some fuel. Coke, like coal, but more so, as the Department of Internal Rarefactions would have it. So I've got 2 extra fuel. Put that right in my fuel box. But like I was saying, it does not behoove you to go crazy out here of terror. So sticking near these light buoys is a good way to keep that from happening. As you can see, my terror is not increasing. Ah. But I've got a secret. So if I speak to my plausible surgeon, I can increase my pages using that secret. Or oh, that's interesting. The Chelinate? Never heard of him. Also, it's strange that entire storylet was like unseen. Okay. I could also increase my veils, which doesn't seem like a bad idea, honestly. Veils as a stat makes it harder for enemies to fire upon you, and all of these stats are mostly useful for various stat challenges. If you've ever played Fallen London, it's kind of the same thing. The higher the stat, the better percentage chance you have of succeeding the challenge. So I'll go ahead and do this. Of course, of course. This, and this, also this. Don't forget this, and never forget that. And that's how that works. Since this is a new game, of course I'm discovering things left and right, which means I'll be getting quite a few points just from this area of the Z. Oh, good. Right next to Venderbite. It'll usually be, like, just up north of Fallen London. Like I said, things don't randomize too much, but they do randomize. And this is another very useful port just starting off. Alright. You've brought this decaying immigrant north. Now what? It's everything I imagined, he tells you breathlessly, but there's someone missing. Please, bring her to me. A vague commission. She went off to the Mangrove College. She needed to get out of London. But Venderbite is just as safe as the college, and I'll wager she's bored of mud by now. Alright? So look for the shady sort in the Mangrove College, somewhere south of the Untersee. Alright. Somewhere in the south, okay. Mangrove College is a pretty interesting place. I'm sure I'll find there eventually. Alright, so first off, let's gather some gossip. That's what we use to get stuff from the Admiralty. Who's plotting what out in the tomb colonies? Along the coast of the Untersee, it's remarkably hard to die. The decrepit and nearly dead who leave London become tomb colonists and settle here in bandaged peace. But they don't give up their ties to home, or their politics. You gather a haul of complex clues, enough to keep your contacts in London interested. So there, I've got one port report. Not really worth a lot, considering how this is typically the closest port outside of Hunter's Keep. Next up, let's actually go explore the streets. You're wanting a game with more pictures and less words. Well, I feel bad for you. Here, they favor candlelight over gaslight. The shadows are swagged like cobwebs. The tomb colonists stand still enough to be mistaken for sculpture until they laugh or cough. One building in 3 seems abandoned. So, basically Detroit? Okay. Let's see. You wander the echoing streets alone. From time to time, the sensation of being watched comes upon you, but each time when you halt, you hear no other's footsteps. Nothing eventful, only eerie. But when you return to the quayside, someone has left an odd, bulky box for you. There's no bill of lading, but the name of your ship is attached to a tag. So, interesting. Absolutely nothing happened, but I ended up with a soothe and copper long box. Let's see. On first sight, it looks like a tomb colonist coffin. On closer examination, it carries stenciling reading "Soothe and Copper" and a handwritten tag. Delivery to Depot A, Station 3. Interesting. I remember seeing this before on my previous playthroughs, or at least hearing about it, but I'd never actually had one of these, so this should be fun. I'm very hopeful. And normally what you'd have to do is take those tomb colonists and just sell them off here like cargo. But the one that I the one that I had just decided to go off on his own, so saving me a trip. There's really nothing else to do here, so let's move on, shall we? This, in effect, is the majority of the game. Sometimes you fight things, sometimes things want to fight you. Most of the time, you weave your way through a text adventure of intrigue and wonder, which is the best thing, honestly. Like, it's the reason I really enjoy what Failbetter Games does. And apparently a lot of other people do, as well. Because they've been contracted to do all sorts of interesting games using their system. Just recently, they did a Dragon Age game for the Dragon Age Keep website, and it sort of works the same way. You go through the storyline, interesting things happen, you make choices. It's like a visual novel, except for with less visuals. Or choose your own adventure with more visuals, you know. Either way, either side of that coin. Ah, those bats really beat me up something fierce, though. They also made a game, I believe, for Channel 4, which is about some weird dystopian future. You're a teenager that gets transferred to a like an apartment complex, and all this weird stuff's happening. There's a crazy AI. It's a very complex story about loss, grievance, sexuality, all sorts of interesting things. Oh, speaking of interesting things, a sailor has grown fretful and disobedient, reluctant to go on deck, even in port. There's a white Z-Bat watching me up here. Salt's messenger. Salt's got his eye on me. I'll never see home again. Okay, here's another thing I really like about just this whole series. Not only do they censor words like damn or whatever, they don't even have to. They'll censor words like bloody, just for fun. So I've got the choice to either order him up on deck, salt, or salt, in which I send him to the sick bay in the pretext of a fever. That is, I let him have his superstition. Or I can just straight up shoot the Z-Bat. I can be just a fucking dick about it. However, I'm going to go ahead and send him to the sick bay, because fuck it. And I've learned something of the three gods of the Z. The sailor is grateful, though your ship's doctor rolls a skeptical eye. When he next goes up on deck, the railings are clear of Z-Bats, white or black, and he sets to work with a will. Which is possibly needed. You can go through crew pretty quickly in this game. Like, ridiculously quickly. If you take damage to your ship and it gets down below a certain level, you'll start losing crew. If you're really hungry and out to Z and you really need some food, you might end up eating your crew. Hence the popular tagline for this game, which is "Go crazy, eat your crew." The waves are flecked with light, and we've arrived in Wither. Awesome. This is one of my favorite starting places here. Let's see, a chilly city beside a waste of salt. Ugh, such salty underground. Let's see. So, as always, it's good to start your port report. The citizens of Wither enjoy questions so much that they always answer a question with another question. This can make intelligence gathering frustrating, to say the least. Yeah. Are you asking for any particular reason? At what time of day? Is that your hat? Might it be 6? It could be 6. Eventually you cobble together enough implication and supposition to compose a report. There we go. You also get chances for shore leave, which can help reduce your terror level, which you definitely need ever so often. But we're going to go ahead and explore the town. Wither is a quiet, chilly town of gray stone and closed courtyards. The people are neither exactly unfriendly nor exactly hospitable. They have an irritating habit of answering a question with a question. Here and there are odd sites tucked away. Who'll try? Who'll buy? A street vendor turns skewers on a grill. The mixed scents are nothing like anything sold in London. So this is an interesting chance to expand your palate. Or you could just try the grilled troglodyte prawns. Huge and pale, and their eyes stare bleakly into yours, but they smell fresh. And of course, if you are unaccountably peckish, you can ask for something more robust. I'm not saying that it's human flesh, but it's human flesh. Could also try something mysterious. What exactly is Tyrant's Treat? The vendor is vague. It looks something like a charred stick dripping with bluish fluid. Ugh. It could also probably kill you. Or you could try shredded jellyfish. It's not to everyone's taste. See, I have a 43% chance of success because of my 36 hearts. I believe the way it works is there's like a set difficulty level, and anything below like what would give you 100% gives you a percentage chance of failing. We're gonna go ahead and try the shredded jellyfish. You'll regret it later. The jellyfish's venom numbs your tongue and rolls your stomach. So I've lost a bit of hunger, but I've also gained a bit of terror. That's fine. The House of the Question. Nothing really interesting to do here. You can straight up defy the gods, which will give you some extra stat bonuses and also reduce your terror. But, yeah. Curses, no fun. And here's an interesting little shop. You can buy and sell things here using Z stories, and here using Tales of Terror. I think I only have one Tale of Terror and no Z stories, so I can't really do much commerce here. But fuck it, let's head north. Also, because this is going incredibly slow, I'm going to hit full speed ahead. Beware, your engines will occasionally explode. By occasionally, they mean kind of frequently? Probably. Not quite sure where I'm going. Oh yes. Oh yes, let's go off the side of the map. Come on now. Let's see what we find out here. Oh. The Untersee has no northern shore. Space is forbidden. Time contracts to a single frozen instant. There is only one way north. You huff and fumble your way through darkness. Stoker's labor below is an old sick dream. Fuel evaporates. Sailors stiffen to statues. Safety? Not a good place to be, but at least it is a place. Frostfound, the castle where riddles fight questions to the death. For a while there, you were somewhere beyond places. Perhaps you've survived. Okay. So, I've lost half of my crew, a little bit of fuel, and I'm now horribly terrified from the Z. Also, most of my supplies. But I'm ending up back at port, and I have received the Scars of the North. The place which is no place held you, crushed you. You carry the wound still. It takes a strong person with a strong constitution to get through that. Also, I've ended up in the middle of... Where am I? I can't even go in because I'm horribly terrified. Let's see where I am on the map. Oh, crap. Ugh. This might be tricky. Alright, let's limp back home. Who's down for limping back home? I am. So, magical place full of ice. Can't go in because I'm immensely terrified by the Z. It's unfortunate, all of that terror, but, you know. At least I've ended up somewhere. Uh-oh. The game will automatically switch to combat mode if it thinks something's going to combat you. Fortunately, those lifebergs, they're living icebergs, they aren't exactly good at tracking your ass down, so you can usually just outpace them. If you want to fight one, you certainly can, but that is a lot of hit points. And trust me, if they ram you, they'll take a lot off your hull. Oh, good. So, coming up on the Chapel of Lights, which is kind of exactly what it looks like. I mean, look at it. Chapel Lights. Ooh. Alright. Furtive faithful gather in the shadows between the many, many candles. A bell tolls in the chapel tower. Crack down iron laughter. Beware, the aisle is full of voices. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do here. You can eat of the chapel's bounty, which mostly just restores your hunger and does a few other things. You can toss your nightmares... You can toss your nightmares into the well, which also hurts you, and if you take 3 wounds, you'll die. That's a good concept for anything, but you only take wounds from certain storylets, so you'll know if you're getting close to dying. Let's gather some intelligence. What occurs here between darkness and the light? Smiling priest in a red cassock tends to the chapel. The congregation are shy of light. They come and go in little ships, and it's strangely difficult to count them. Perhaps some of them are imaginary. Still, you note the name of a ship or two. That's my port report. Do you hear music? Nope. Alright, nothing I can buy here, so I'm probably going to start panicking soon. Ooh. Is that... I don't even know what that is. Oh, Mountain Nomad. So that's a wandering mountain. It's got 1,000 hit points. I could do about 20 hit points of damage if I fire my main cannon at it. So, not winning that fight anytime soon. Hopefully I make it back to civilization before my folks starve to death. Sorry, this might be a very short journey. Oh, and also, the engine was pushed a bit too far, and now everything's on fire. Heal the wounded, damp the flames. Do what you can. You've saved injured sailors, but the ship has suffered terribly. So I managed it, but I also lost quite a bit of hull. So good job me. Rolling about the Z with terror. Ooh. And the best part is, if you go through unexplored area, it usually is a little bit darker than normal. Like, as you noticed, the Chapel of Lights didn't actually light up properly until I identified it. So, until I actually figure out where the hell I am, or what the hell's around me. Oh, and that's where you can use this. Z key, you send out a Z-bat. It tries to find a place that you haven't been. A long way to the southwest is a place called Bonnie Reefs. Let's see if I can reach it before I run out of fuel. Or, you know, starve to death. Uh-oh. We enter Stormbones. St. Eligius sends his fire to dance in the air, on deck. Very far away, we see the great light of the Ragged Crow. Lovely. So we've discovered the Bonnie Reefs, and oh, crap. Apparently all the Gilly Floor have decided they want to fight. I really don't want to fight them, though. Despite the delicious supplies that they hold in their jelly bodies. Okay. So that's not good. The Desperate Measures storylet's popped up, which means the game is like, hey, you know what you need? You need some fuel. You ain't got fuel. This will always pop up if you have no fuel and you're out at Z. And I'm getting close to running out. This barrel is... But whatever, let's increase my veils a little bit. Bonus. More secrets? Yes. Just keep throwing them in the pile. Ooh, and it looks like we found Moody's Light. This lighthouse. It looks like a little eye. Sounds like a reference to a thing. Actually, let's kill some pirates. That's a good way to get your stuff back. Alright, they're dead. This is normally not as easy as it looks, but I've been carrying around a kind of pricey cannon from my previous run, so I'm good. Let's loot and scuttle these fools. Okay, so we've gotten an extra fuel. That's decent. Just in the nick of time. The scent of the Z. Salt and frost and cellars. Black spices. I'm just going to try to haul ass over here to London. If you get close enough, you can get some friendly folk to tow you in. But also, you can stop at Hunter's Keep and relive that wonderful luncheon. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and reconnoiter. I forgot to do that last time. It's a very cheap port report, but there you go. This time, let's go ahead and talk with Phoebe. Here's a story. Phoebe has a story to tell, of two lovers parted by water, of a raven that carried messages, of a fragment of the moon. She beats time on the table as she speaks, as if to a song only she can hear. The effect is hypnotic. Your attention drifts, out through the skylight of the dining room, to the false stars glittering on the roof of the cavern. You drift like a puffball spore. The Untersee shimmers below. Islands lie like mineral specimens on black velvet. Ships bob like wood ships between the islands. Vast spined things pulse in the depths. There is a scent like the scent before a storm. Storm came, says Phoebe quietly. Everything changed. Somewhere in there, you finish the last course. The scowling maid reluctantly serves cheese and Bath Oliver biscuits. Interesting. Apparently, I have also gained Storm's attention. An ancient anger knows you. Spooky. But I also came out of that with some extra supplies. The sisters are always very nice at giving you extra supplies. I'll go ahead and use some news to lure them back out. Even when the sisters aren't feeling sociable, they can be tempted out of their lair by the way of new stories. So that's my recent news that I've been carrying this whole time. You knock and wait. You ask the sulphur-eyed maid to carry a few hints of your news to the sisters. Oddly enough, she comes back with a message that their headaches are cured, and you're invited to lunch. So let's go ahead and see Lucy. That way we've seen them all. And she tells a daft tale. Lucy leans over and whispers to you confidentially. A complex story about a butler, a pig, and an inheritance. You don't follow all the details of the plot, but somehow the pig ends up in the attic and the butler in a vicar's bed. Candles flicker. Dishes enter and leave, and the wind butts gently at the window panes. By the time the plum pudding arrives, you're as cheerful as you've been in months. So apparently because of that, I've also gained Stone's attention. It's Salt, Stone, and Storm. Those are the three gods of the Z. Very far away, but perhaps it's watching you. But that's cool. Man, I hope nothing bad happens to those people in the future. You should keep visiting them, of course, to see whether or not something bad happens to them in the future. And now, let's see. Desperate measures. Without fuel, your ship is just an oddly shaped house located somewhere where you really don't want to live. So this one gives you the ability to do something to hopefully get more fuel, or abandon ship, wherein you'll probably die. There's a huge chance that you'll just die. You can make a sacrifice to any of the gods if you have the right stuff for it. But what I'm going to do is search my supplies. In this way, you take 2 of your supplies and you turn them into 1 fuel. It smells like burning rags, but it'll satisfy the engine's hunger for a little while. If you only need to get a certain way, burning your supplies is always the best way to go. And here we reach the docks of London once again. And people are wanting me to let them tug. Oh god. Exploded again? Ah, good, it's just more hull damage. When you're close to London and you're out of gas, people will offer to tow you back, but usually it costs you. But wow, that's the first first expedition of Sunbottom here. Let's see what else we can do. Let's get rid of all these surveys. Hunter's Keep, worth 5 echo. Echo's the currency of the Echo Bazaar. Makes sense, right? Since it's literally 5 feet away, that's all you get. A little bit of favor, some fuel. Vendor Bite. Since it's literally 20 feet away, you get 10 more echo. That's cool. The fuel thing's new, though. Or at least it's new from the last time I played. Alright, Wither, and you get to talk to the Dark Spectacled Admiral, who has a completely new portrait. Amazing. Ah, yes, the merchant captain of whom we hear such complicated things. This guy asks you for things. Information. He's also incredibly snarky. But let's get rid of the rest of these port reports. Chapel of Lights. There's something about the Untersee that breeds heresy and dissent. I rather think we might need to send the Bishop of Southwark out for a good bit of Christian shouting. Shouting at the top of your lungs is a pretty good way to argue in Fallen London. There, that's the typical back and forth of this game. There's a lot more to it, you know. Read the papers, sometimes you get free supplies. There are many extra stories out there. And honestly, I'd like to do some more videos about all of that. But I think I'm going to end this one right here. If you enjoyed this, you should totally get the game. It's coming out of early access on February 4th. It's a very short time from now, so this game is mostly done. And it's looking way better than it did even months ago. So if you like reading endless amounts of text, entertaining text, and hearing about so many stories that'll make your head spin, stories that are constantly updated just all the time, pick it up. Have fun.